Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar. This is going to be a discussion on leveraging HERS index scores for higher appraised values. My name is Ryan Mears. I'm the program director for ResNet, and I'll be moderating today's webinar and fielding questions. If you do have a question, please enter it into the questions tab on the GoToWebinar toolbar. We have an esteemed panel of speakers today. You're going to be hearing from each of them. I'll allow them to introduce themselves before we get started, and then I will go ahead and tee things up. So Steve, you want to kick it off?
Fantastic, Ryan. Thank you so much for having us and for putting this webinar together. My name is Steve McKenna. I'm the owner of the Home Building Energy Efficiency Academy. I've been working, trying to help builders for the last 2 years be able to utilize and leverage their energy scores for building energy efficient homes to get higher appraisal values. And it's been a passion project to say the least, but we've had tremendous results and we're full on rock and rolling right now. And ResNet has been a huge part of that success. So we appreciate all you guys are doing over there. Go ahead and take it away, Ryan Riveras.
Hi, my name is Ryan Riveras. I'm the Chief Executive Officer of Accelerated Appraisal Management Company. I'd like to thank ResNet for allowing us to share this platform with them. We are a national appraisal management company who has the largest and foremost expert appraisal panel who is trained in making adjustments based off HERS ratings. As a CEO, it's important to me to work with organizations like ResNet, who has developed a process that identifies energy efficiencies. Even more important, that they have figured out a way to quantify it through a HERS rating. This is critical and critically important for energy efficiency appraisers, as it's important to know that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac accept the HERS process as the gold standard.
Thanks, Ryan. Go ahead, Travis.
Yeah, Travis Kanzler-Pitt here. I'm the CEO of ICS Inspectors. We have boots on the ground that provide those HERS ratings across the country. And what's first and foremost, our top priority is more homes being HERS rated, right? That's what needs to happen within the industry. You have other performance metrics that are out there, but none are as meaningful as Ryan alluded to. The quantifiability of a HERS index score, what that actually means to a home buyer, because we can show them. And then the fact that, you know, the end users or those that are interested in purchasing a property, by being able to go to ResNet's HERS registry and find out exactly what that HERS index score, that's huge for the home buyer side. And then what we've been seeing from the builder side is, you know, they have not had an opportunity to receive credit for their high performing construction practices. The appraisal of a high performing home, if it's built near a home that's not high performing, how does the appraiser know any different, right? And so that's where we as with ResNet, with HERS ratings, as HERS raters, we want to be able to continue to keep Ryan and the appraisal industry up to date on current construction practices, methodologies, equipment, materials. That way we can have a more precise appraising process for our country's high performing builders. Cole?
Thanks, Travis. Cole, go ahead.
Absolutely. And thanks, Ryan, for having us, and thanks, ResNet, for putting this together. My name's Cole Bestian. I'm one of the founders at Arcasa. We're a fintech company that works with lenders across the nation to help remove the friction and enable the adoption of energy efficiency mortgages. We primarily work in the retrofit existing home inventory space, but we also work in new build construction. Everything that has been brought up so far of being able to boots on the ground rate show the quality of the build, being able to attribute that to the appraisal or the training associated with that is all great, and we are trying to help lenders adopt all that together. And so that way the loan officer, who's an advocate to the buyer of who's seeing what can I actually afford, realize that there's actually some great loan programs out there that make buying an energy efficient home not only possible, but actually preferable. It unlocks some additional value, tax credits, and that adding some of these different energy efficiency products, we focus particularly on solar, can decrease monthly mortgage payments and decrease utility costs to operate the home. So it's an area we specialize in. We're not a solar company. We get confused by that a lot. We're more of a fintech company that works with a network of fulfillment groups and works with lenders across the nation.
Thanks, Cole.
Cole's being very humble. He's the cheat code. So yeah.
So
right.
I'll get this. I'll start it off with kind of with a little bit on of my experience in kind of working on the energy code side of things for many years before I came to ResNet and still now at ResNet. And one of the reasons that builders often pushed back against increases in energy code efficiency was because they weren't able to get that additional value. Not only did it cost them more, but they really couldn't get the value on the appraisal side to justify those costs or to recoup some of them. And so that's one of the things that I've seen over the years and why builders push back on increased efficiency requirements like the energy code. And after coming to ResNet, we've worked closely with the Appraisal Institute for many years. We have an appraisal portal that's available to all licensed residential appraisers in the U.S. It doesn't get as much use as we'd like, and one of those reasons is because it's a separate thing that appraisers would have to go to and find that data. And we all know that it's nice to have everything you need in one place. Especially if software can pull it in automatically. So recently, ResNet created an API for appraisal software, which is something that that can help to have all that data you need in one place without going to two different platforms. And then also some data sharing with multiple listing services, trying to get HERS data into the real estate market. But so the first question I think I'll throw out there is what do you all see as the importance of a HERS rating in this process? Why can't a builder just build to the 2021 IECC and get a higher appraised value? What's the importance of having a HERS rating in this process?
So it's like having the metaphor that I like to leverage is if you put a VR set on an appraiser and you put them inside that home throughout construction, they can peel back the layers, they can go through time, they can see these are the frames, this is the framing that were used. I see advanced framing here. I see the type of insulation that's actually behind the drywall. I'm seeing all of these activities, these materials, these equipments that are being performed throughout construction, so that I know on the appraisal side what I can include, how I can perform my calculations to make these appraisals more accurate.
Thanks, Travis. Anyone else?
Something that we really love about the HERS score is it gives some universal lingo that can be, because people, home builders, obviously all the builders here, they're regular builders of homes. They know the building science. This is what they do every day. But to translate that to a client, there's very few people that are regular consumers of homes, right? They're buying maybe their starter home and then transitioning into one or two homes throughout their lifetime. So to be able to articulate a number that can actually translate to something that's understanding is huge. And then it also gives like a starting point of where homes are in that region, where this home relates to it, and what additional things can be done. We use it a lot on the retrofit side because we can show the impact of, hey, this home as is in this range, and these are some of the things we can include in your mortgage to bring it to this area, and this is what impact it's going to have on. I think it's a great way for builders to be able to stand apart of, hey, not only are we doing these things that may sound nice, of like a heat recovery unit or random things that we know lingo in our world, it translates to the consumer of like, oh, that means I get, better miles per gallon equivalency. So we really love the conciseness of it.
For us as an AMC, our appraisers wouldn't be able to give these large adjustments. Traditionally in the marketplace, appraisers make adjustments for solar, right? And very few are trained to make adjustments based off the kilowatts. But now with the HERS rating, it accumulates all that information, all that data into one single score and allows them to base their adjustments based off, mathematical calculations off of that. Where before, if they were to go to a builder and the builder was saying, well, we've got all these energy efficiency items, we want you to make adjustments, it would be way beyond the typical scope of what an appraiser would make an adjustment for. It would take way too much time without the raters. It would take way too much time without that typical report. And appraisals would cost, thousands to be able to get to that. But because of the HERS rating, the HERS score, they're able to calculate it quite quickly once trained.
And from the lending perspective, lenders, it simplifies it for underwriters. It also, collateral underwrite. So if you're going to build structure around something, for simplicity's sake, Energy Star 3.1, 3.2, you slapped on it, you get that certification. But where, with the HERS score, you could be Energy Star 3.2 and it'd be at a HERS score of 50, but you could also be at a 10, but you can't tell the difference in an Energy, on an Energy Star 3.2. You just got that certification. With HERS, I can tell you definitively how much money utility cost savings you are because of that exact precise HERS score. I think that's what's also super valuable for underwriters in the lending industry, as well as like Ryan was saying for the appraisal industry. So yeah, it's quantifiable, and that's what makes it stand out and why it's the gold standard.
I also think that more buyers, as we've seen interest rates change, and I know this isn't historical highs by any means, but people as they're buying, they're believing that they're going to stay in homes longer than they were, if you look at the data. And therefore, operational costs of that home matter to them, because it's not, oh, I'll live here for 2 years and then move on to something else. It's, hey, I'm going to be running and operating this home maybe for the next 10, 20 years. Whether or not that's true or not, we can look at that data, but that's the feeling that a buyer has. And so, like Steve said, is being able to slap a 3.2 Energy Star label on it. Well, there's a big difference between a 50 and a 10 HERS score, and they would both say 3.2 Energy Star.
Yes.
Yep. Very good points.
Exactly. Yeah, there's programs out there that are just a label, where HERS index is a metric.
Yep.
All right. Before I go into another question, just a reminder to everyone that's listening in, if you'd like to ask a question to the panel, please enter it into the questions tab on the GoToWebinar toolbar. And while everybody's thinking about their question, I'll go ahead and put another one out there. So one of the things that when I first talked to you, Steve, about this was really about the process. Like, what do we have to go through? What should the builder know about getting additional value for their HERS scores? How does that relationship work between the builder and the appraiser and possibly the lender, and then what role does the HERS rater or the rating company also need to throw in there? So I'll throw that one out. Whoever wants to jump in first on it.
Well, the beauty of this whole process, when we first came to the, 2 years ago, my business partner, who was a builder who had built over 600 green homes over an 8-year window, the goal was to make it as easy for the builder and free to the builder as free sounds, because you have to put all the green energy efficient items into it. But for a lot of these builders, they're already doing it. And that was the sad part, is that they were already building energy efficient home. They just weren't getting credit for it. So it all starts with getting the HERS score, because that's what we then pass off to Ryan over with the appraisals, right? The appraiser has to have that so they can see what's happening behind the drywall. And that was one of the biggest things that my co-founder hated hearing was, well, I'm sorry, I want to give you credit for it, but it's based on bedroom and bathrooms, square footage, and they weren't able to see what's happening behind the drywall. And that's exactly what Travis had alluded to with the VR glasses and peeling back the layers. And so that's where it all began. It was with the builder being builder centric and focused, making it free to them and to help them get credit. And then we had to overcome education, issues. That's where Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac with their guidelines, educating the lending world, like, hey, this needs to be changed. If you're going to have international energy codes being pushed upon these builders, at least give them credit for it. And so that was where we started, and then the appraisal side, Green's been around since the 80s. This isn't anything new. This has been out there. And there's many appraisers, who in air quotes claim to have taken appraisal training, but it might be obsolete, from back in the day. And that's the biggest thing that we're running into is a lot of the people who are on these panels or on these lists, they're retired. They retired years ago, but they're still on these lists. So, it's all about educating the lenders, because a lot of them have never even heard of it, or they're like, oh, how do you guys do this program up in Washington? Because there's no sun up there, it only rains. So they think it's all just based on solar, which it's actually the entire building envelope. And so it's the first thing is the builder just has to already be getting HERS scores, or if they're not, at least we'll pay for your first HERS score. Let's find a benchmark. Let's see where you stand. We'll pay for it. And then we educate the lender and basically include the HERS score when we order that appraisal, so we can get that appraisal ordered. Educating the appraisers, and then this is line item adjustment. So it's just math at that point. So that's Ryan. That's kind of where you take over with your expertise, but we try not to overcomplicate this. We want to keep it as simple as possible. And the builder's doing the hard part already. Now we're just finally, able to give them credit for it. And so go ahead, Ryan, if you want to elaborate.
Yeah, I think so. Steve mentioned the training, and proper training is the appropriate explanation, because the most green classes, I'm a real estate appraiser myself as a professional, but I've taken previous green courses, and they tell you how to identify what green is, but they don't tell you how to adjust for it. And so getting the training from Steve has allowed us to teach our appraisers, teach our panel, take the course, learn the how to make the adjustments for it. And so these builders are getting the credit that they should have been getting a long time ago. It goes on a little bit beyond just the training, right? So the appraisers, once they've taken this course, we have a team that walks them through this process, teaches them the Fannie Mae Freddie Mac guidelines, and we go through this rigorous process of training and teaching and coaching. They do their first appraisal, they turn it in, our team goes through it with them, talks about it with them, mentors them, before we actually submit it. Just so everyone's within guidelines, and that the builders are taken care of, and that they're educated on the ResNet HERS process, so that way it's seamless and smooth right off the get-go.
Yeah,
Ryan,
it's timely that we're talking about this, right? The Olympics just happened, and the U.S. and it's funny that we're talking the U.S. 4x1 team, and there's inspectors, there's the contractors, the lenders, and the appraisers. It's funny. The U.S. was favored to win gold, and because of a bad handoff, they fail, right? And so Cole had mentioned advocacy, and we're throwing in there is also the precision, right? So the data that as it's getting handed off, there is no way to hand it off poorly, right? That's where the training and the constant oversight and advocacy on behalf of that data, on behalf of that HERS rating, make sure that it is being advocated for on behalf of the builder all the way through the process. That's what allows us to make sure that it can't be dropped.
The other thing that I love about Travis and his company is just that they optimize. Like if they see an opportunity where a builder is building at a 58, now that we can quantify the difference between a 58 HERS score versus a 48 HERS score, and then it might be just like literally right there, that is true value to a builder. And when you're talking about return on investment and making homes more affordable, it's not getting easier for builders, especially with HUD and USDA talking about adoption of the 2021 in order to qualify. That's scary, for a lot of builders, because a lot of states haven't adopted an energy code. So going from crawling to running a marathon, because the 2021 is the most challenging energy code we have. And so that's where, having a not just an energy rater, but a consultant, like an actual team who can consult you on not just being like, here's your grade and sorry, you failed, but here's how we can get you to optimize that. And now we can also quantify it for you. That's all, that's where HERS, is the differentiator in the entire industry. So
I think I think that the analogy of the proper handoff is really solid because there's a pipeline of clients here, and the problem in today's world is not if we can build good homes. I mean, it's not even necessarily the price of what homes are, right? It's what people can afford. What you can afford in a monthly payment matters more than what the price of the home itself is. That's why I'm sure every builder on this call is used to giving out builder concessions. And that's just to make the loan work, right? You have a home, you've got a sales price, the home is going to appraise for that price, the home is worth that price, but there's not buyers that can afford that monthly payment. And so what do you have to do? You have to come to the table and give concessions to the lender to get the payment in an area that you want. I think one of the beauties here is you can mix a high performance home that that a proper energy rater can give the metric that says, hey, this is a high performing home. The appraiser can take that data and show the value of that home. But there's also so many other things that can be unlocked here as long as it's being handed off. The 45L tax credits associated with it, some of the lower interest rates that are associated with lower HERS scores. I know that we do a lot of work with if you utilize some of our products with different lenders or new lenders that we onboard, of actually bringing a rebate to the table to be able to avoid some of those builder concessions. On top of that is changing the builder's life of some of these things. The loan guidelines allow you to make these upgrades after the fact, depending on the state that you're in and the loan product that you're in, that the energy rater can actually give an as completed rating as long as it's put into an escrow account, which means you can add certain energy efficiency upgrades after closing. So instead of eating into the upgrade budget that the borrower has, there's actually an additional 15 to 20% budget that can be applied on that front. So there's so many nuanced things, and it's all about unlocking it in the right order for both the borrower and the builder.
Comes back
Absolutely.
to education. Yep. Do we have any questions in the chat box, Ryan?
One of the great things that we are seeing out there is that for the home builders that are able to follow these steps, have their folks trained, have the contractors, the lenders, the appraisers all in line, then you're setting yourself as a home builder apart from your comps. Your competitors can no longer use your home as a comp, right? Once it is appraising with that energy efficient line item, then you are no longer raising the tide for the low performing builders that are in your communities, right?
Thanks, guys. Sorry, I was talking earlier and realized I muted myself. I'm sorry. Thanks, Travis. Thanks, Travis, for covering me. So to Steve's question, no questions in the questions tab just yet, but that's okay. I've got I'm learning here too, so I've got plenty of questions of my own. And I think that one of the things that we look at ResNet is how do we scale? We're looking. We have a goal of a million ratings a year by the end of 2028. So it's obviously a lofty goal. It's more than double what we're going to do in 2024, which should eclipse 400,000 ratings. But you know, I guess let's take the concept of scaling this and what is needed to bring this to more builders. Are there certain kind of market failures? What are some of those things that could happen that would enable this to scale to more builders, to be available to more builders to utilize and get that higher appraised value for energy efficiency?
I think it's the value, right? Like if all of the home builders that I work with, I asked them if they had a magic wand, what would they change about the home building industry? They would say, oh, I'd want to be able to build like we built in the 90s. We were able to build the way that we wanted, high quality product, and we got the value for it, right? We were able to sell that to the homeowners. We were able to walk them through exactly what the high performing measures that are in these buildings mean. And that's what the HERS index gives to, like Cole was mentioning, a lot of these home buyers, this is something they'll come across 2-3 times in their life. So to be an expert on it is very difficult for us to expect that from the industry. And that's where the HERS index makes that issue go away. You can quantify it. It is a metric. It is measurable, and we can promote that to those end users, right? Through the real estate professionals, the training that needs to go on for everybody that has a hand on the baton here for each of these handoffs. And so that's going to be, I think, the biggest hurdle, right? Is walking home builders through. Imagine if you could just cut your warranty calls in half. Imagine if your interest rates that you're offering are 2% lower. How many more home buyers are you going to be able to bring to the table, right? That's where the training, the education that we're doing right here is going to be that first step. That's most important, because it's only a matter of time, right? These are happening, and it's going to come to a community whether you want it or not, right? Because imagine a home buyer moving into a new community. They're talking to their neighbor who just bought their home as well and saying, gosh, how about these interest rates? I love my 5.95. And the neighbor looking at them sideways and saying, wait, how did you get 2% off of your interest rate from mine? I'm at 7. I'm at almost 8% on my interest rate, right? And so that's where we've got to be able to help the builders with the momentum. And that's what the HERS rating is. It is the baton that allows us to make sure that there is a race to execute on.
And to support what Travis just said and what Steve said earlier in regards to meeting these energy efficiency codes, and some states not requiring them, that shouldn't make a difference to the builders in those states, because this isn't about meeting those requirements, because there is no requirements yet, but it's coming. But right now, they're literally missing out on money. They're literally missing out on exactly what Travis just said. 3 to 8% of an adjustment per home that they're selling that can help the builder, it can help the buyer. It makes homes more affordable, and in turn, you have more people coming to buy your homes.
I think another thing for adoption amongst builders is there's a temptation for any of us to kind of have a fear mentality when entering into anything new of, what does this do to my current pipeline? Like, hey, I already have people that are lined up to buy these homes. I already have folks that are willing to accept a home without this type of knowledge and things like that. That's great. You don't need to adjust that. This isn't about cannibalizing your current pipeline of clients. This is about differentiating yourself and expanding your market share. Because especially in this type of a market, if you can expand your market share now, that pays dividends as the market continues to pick back up. And so there is just the fact of the matter that more and more people are caring about the operational costs of the home. More and more people do care about what could they have leveraged during the time of their transaction or at the time of building that they are then bummed about later that they didn't have that opportunity. Being able to attract that class will expand your market share, make you known in the industry as delivering that value. But the trick though is your frontline staff, whether it's the loan officer, the realtor, the home expert, inside sales folks, you know, there already are people walking in the door. This is about either converting the people that left that never closed or getting new people to walk in the door as well. It's really exciting.
I want to kind of close this question out just on this note. I got the privilege to attend last fall's ResNet conference in San Diego as kind of a fly on the wall. No one knew we were there. We were just observing, taking it all in, and they really got to like hear the raters' perspective. And in the building industry, I mean, oftentimes we kind of focus on, the big names, the D.R. Hortons, right? The leading builders of America group, the top 30 builders that build, 50% of the homes. But that the things that ResNet promoted, like why her scores are important. They put a slide up of the top things that are coming down the pipeline and what they're really excited about. It resonates with those big companies where they have to worry about the ESG reporting and some of the other items there. But for some of the smaller builders, this resonates with them because they're building energy efficient homes too, but they're not being asked to, do the ESG stuff that might be not even on their radar right now. But they are definitely on their radar is how to get higher appraisal values for those energy efficient items and how to be able to use that to leverage it to get more, to use that for buy downs and seller concessions that they're coming out of pocket with that are now making their homes more affordable. And that's the overarching, umbrella in America's home affordability. So ResNet's goal of hitting 1 million, I think this is a huge, win for you guys. Talk about timing to announce that you're going to try to do that. And the fact that Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac are now recognizing this, and we have energy raters, I think are our best offense for going out there and talking with builders that are getting ratings and be like, hey, did you know that you could be getting 3 to 8% higher, values by leveraging these energy scores? I mean, that's true return on investment right there, because it's a cost to them right now, and they might not be able to, because of their size, be really on that metric of what they're, like the things that ResNet is saying is their top value prop for them. But every builder I know likes more money, wants to get value for the homes that they build and make their homes more affordable to be able to go buy more dirt and have the peace of mind to know that those homes are going to appraise and they're not going to come in light. So I think that this is a huge win. I think your timing is amazing, and I think that if you guys were selling stock, I'd be buying a lot of ResNet stock right now.
Right.
We've had a few questions come in, so I'm going to take the first two from Tom Patton. He's asking, is there more education needed for both appraisers and raters on ICF building envelopes that provide HER scores often well below 50? And then a follow-up question to that, he was asking if there's a movement to include resilience with energy efficiency. So I'll let take both or one, or go ahead.
I mean, from an appraiser standpoint, the training is the same, right? It comes and starts with taking the initial training on how, what is energy efficiency items, what's a ResNet HERS score, how to do the mathematical calculations, how to support in a narrative in your appraisal report to explain to the reader, in this case the underwriter, why you're making these adjustments, whether it's a 55 HERS score or a below 40 HERS score, right? The mathematical adjustments will be different, but the process is still the same. But that goes back to with my company is appraisers out there say that they're green trained, going back to what Steve said, this basic green training, but they're not, they don't understand. And that's why we've literally dedicated a team with my company to train appraisers, to walk them through this process, to mentor them. They do the first appraisal, they're calling in, we're talking about it, we're making sure they have the right explanations in their report. We're running these reports to reviews, making sure they have low CU scores, so there's no issues on the back end when going through Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. So it's an entire process that we take, but it's all the same whether it's a 40 or a 55.
Yeah. And then the HERS raters are trained. I mean, ResNet has continuing education. I mean, you have to maintain your credentials with good standing with ResNet, and ResNet has very significant training out there. And so, yeah, for ICF, our HERS raters are trained on it. They know how to put those into the energy models, create those projected HERS ratings, create those final HERS ratings, get them through. ResNet's very rigorous, QA processes. And then the second part of your question, Tom, is it will impact it, right? If you are including measures that are energy efficient and improve the safety measures of the home, you're going to be impacting those other line items as well. You're going to be impacting the appraisal line items that aren't just energy consuming, right? So you think about, Ryan, from an appraiser's perspective, 2x4 walls compared to 2x6 walls.
Sure. So, right, that line item you're referring to would be quality of construction adjustment, right? And there's a difference in there, 1 through 5, and you have the higher quality construction adjustments are quantified through that versus lower ones that would have a negative adjustment. Absolutely. So you can receive, to answer your question, you can receive a quality of construction adjustment as well as an energy efficiency HERS adjustment. Totally two different things, but kind of run parallel with each other.
Yep, but they're still going to be contained within that HERS report that is the baton.
Yep.
100%.
Good point. And I'll add to that. I think the resilience conversation also comes into play, especially when we start talking about homeowners insurance premiums skyrocketing and that kind of thing. It's a little outside of our discussion here. I'm not going to throw out any homeowner insurance questions, but I think that's an important aspect of when you start to bring resilience into the conversation along with energy efficiency. I'm going to move on to the next question. Mark Smith asked, how commonly is the mortgage industry using the HERS score? And then he asks, why is the score not more common in the mortgage industry within Zillow or on MLSs, things like real estate listings?
So we have been working diligently with Zillow, with Realtor.com, NAR, National Association of Real Estate. Out of the entire nation, this is going to baffle you. Only 30% of real estate forms have the ability to put energy efficient items, even list them, and that 70% of the country doesn't even have a place for real estate agents to actually add energy efficient items to help builders explain, show what's going on behind the drywall. It's a travesty, honestly, and we've been working with NAR. Zillow is beta testing, as well as Realtor.com. In fact, there's Zillow's creating a whole nother website for specifically called Livable for new construction. And that's going to be another avenue that they're really looking at, is to be able to, livable, sustainable, affordable, and that's where the HERS scores really come into effect. So we're excited because that's going to create real consumer behavioral change. I liken it to back in the 70s when you go and you'd buy a car, you'd buy a big pickup truck or a giant Cadillac. You never asked what's the gas mileage. That was a trivial question. But now it's like the very first question you ask. That's where we're going to be in 2 to 3 years. People are, energy cost is really, coming to the forefront. When you're buying a home, what's it going to cost me to run this house? And if you can save 50%, that's monstrous. If you're on a fixed income or going to be retiring soon and going to a fixed income, this is this is going to be the common things that new consumers, and just overall consumers are going to be asking about, when they go in to buy a house.
Yep, and the lenders that are advocates for builders are trying, right? They are working with their home builders and trying to advocate for them, but without the trained appraiser, their hands are tied. So nobody's going to be able to advocate for a home builder, like ResNet can, right? Like a ResNet registered HERS rater can, because they literally have the data. And so that's where this all comes that's where all the momentum comes from. A lot of lenders would, sure, we'd love to, what's the HERS rating on that? I'll send that to the appraiser. If that appraiser is not qualified to be able to read a HERS report and make the adjustments like Ryan was alluding to, then it falls, right? Then it's that's just a waste of time for those lenders, right? And so you really do need all parts of the relay to be in communication and to be on the same team of advocacy for the builder and the home buyer. That's why you're not seeing a lot of HERS ratings in the mortgage industry, other than Fannie and Freddie. Fannie and Freddie, they did their homework. They studied 75,000 homes that had HERS ratings, and what they saw, and which is why we are able to have these conversations, is because once that HERS rating was hitting a 60 and below, they were seeing significant drops in foreclosures because the homeowner, the end user, could afford to live in the home.
You know, there's a critical point made there about an appraiser knowing what they're doing. Is there was this one lender we were starting to work with or trying to work with, and they thought, some smart guy over there thought they could go out and handle this by themselves. And this is exactly what Travis is saying with handing off the baton to the right group. And they ordered the appraisal. They told their builder all these great things. The builder was really excited about it. They didn't go through us, and they went through somebody else. They contacted a green appraiser. The green appraiser was handed the HERS rating, didn't know what they were doing, thought they did. They turned the appraisal in. Appraisal went to the builder. The builder said, "Where's our adjustment? Where's everything you just talked about? Like, what's going on?" Horrible situation for that lender. You know, that's burning relationships with their builder relationships, which is the last thing you ever want to do. So it's just real important that you're using the right people that are trained and know how to manage this process from the beginning to the consumer all the way to the lender.
Yeah, it's not just the intent; it is also the know-how.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a tremendous amount of friction for a lender to adopt all these processes properly. And that's, I mean, around the table here, we've got a lot of those solutions for that lender. Because if you don't have the right rating done and you don't have an appraiser who is competent and has been trained well with the proper education, it doesn't work. And that's where the benefit that's really where our company got started, was seeing that, like, hey, the pieces are here on the board. They just have to be played right. Let's go ahead and remove that friction and work with lenders across the nation to make it work. And then we'll suggest some of the most optimal opportunities for that loan officer and for those clients. So we're starting to see it pick up out of necessity. We do, like I said, we do a lot of existing home retrofit, and we have to show contributory value for that. And one of the options is a HERS score versus a cost-effective test. And the HERS score is more effective. We think it touts more what we're doing already. And it's just an easier metric to be able to apply to meet that contributory value requirement. And that's actually a way that the lender is starting to pick up, like, oh, we can actually utilize the same on other areas of our business, like our builder branches that we're lending.
I think it's important to note too, to what Steve was saying about the site Livable or Realtor.com or the National Association of Realtors starting to adapt this language. The consumer, you know, in the last 10 years, 20 years have gotten really smart and educated in the home buying process, the home building process. And although it might be a small percentage now when it comes to energy efficiencies, but the minute that Zillow adapts this and Realtor.com adapts this and whoever else out there adapts this, the consumer is going to catch on very, very quickly. And they're going to start actually demanding this from the builders. And so what an opportunity for the builders to get ahead of it, to adapt this ResNet HERS process, you know, through trained raters, trained appraisers, trained lenders, to start getting credit for this, because it's coming regardless.
Yep.
I'm
And
sure.
home builders know this. As home buyers are coming to the sales folks, they are already expecting high performing, energy efficient homes, right? And once they're equipped with the knowledge of how to track that and how to measure that, which is with the HERS ratings, that's where the home builders that are building to those higher standards are really going to be able to stand themselves apart from their competition.
Yes.
It's just something just recently, we all heard about Richmond, America getting bought out for billions of dollars or whatever. That was Seksui House out of Japan. They bought now 26 plus, home builders across America. Now they've covered, they're the fifth largest home builder in the country. They only buy energy efficient builders. Chesmar, Woodside, Richmond, America. If you go into Richmond, America model showroom and you look at their little brochures, it shows you what the HERS score is on the bottom of every single model. It shows you what the HERS score is and gives a paragraph of why it's more energy efficient and how it's going to affect your utility costs. That's what they targeted, and they went after it, and they bought up. They're buying energy efficient homes because they know that's the direction of where they're getting the head start on everybody. So it's here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
really
and
good point, Steve. There's
yeah,
been a
I was
lot of
just going to say,
consolidation.
it's been because it's so quantifiable because of the HERS ratings. That's where it no longer is a concept of, well, it's going to save you on your energy bill. We don't really know how much, but here's it is going to lower your energy bill. Like, no, with what we're talking about here, we're able to say your energy bill is going to be reduced by this much because of that HERS metric. Your interest rate is going to be reduced this much because of that metric, and we're going to be able to get these home buyers into homes that, even though they're more high performing, they cost less per month to live in, and that's what ultimately matters to the home buyers.
Very good. So as we start to wrap up here, I want to give each of you a minute or two to either expand on something that we maybe haven't covered here that we should have, or share something that's kind of been interesting or surprising to you in working through this process of getting higher appraised values for energy efficiency. So
When you guys are thinking about it, I'll just share something really quick on the screen, if that's okay, with people who
yeah,
actually can view this. So hopefully you guys can see this. This is results from the top 3 builders in the U.S. So essentially, we've been working on this for quite a while, but we're seeing anywhere from 3.7% to 8.7% higher appraisal values. So these are all done this year. This isn't old data. This is all done this year. Just some just recently. But you can see we had it marked builder A, B, C. This is what they are right here. So you can see 8.9%, an increase of 48,000. The beauty of this data, what makes this so special, is every single one of these homes was already sold but not closed. And what I mean by that is that they'd already sold this house. They already had an appraisal from their lender, from their appraiser, and then we educated them and used the same house with the same comparables, and these are the results we got. You can see the HERS scores, you can see the relationship on how that affected it, and yeah, it wasn't like this was a standalone. They already had the appraisal from their current lender. So when they saw this was just like, like, this is, we're giving seller concessions. You just give us a, automatic bump in our profit margin, essentially, is what it comes down to. And that's what we want to be able to do for all the builders across the nation. Ryan, I can see you're excited to say something, but.
Well, it was fun going through this process with these builders on the screen here. Knowing that they're about to close, they know what it's going to appraise for already, and then we come in with a highly trained appraiser and team to show them, not just, it wasn't just $5,000, like, this is significant money on the board that they were missing out on. And once they see that this process work, and that it's not, some magic, that's happening, that it's real and it's quantifiable and it's supported, by the GSEs, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, and by a reputable company like ResNet and HERS. And it was just fun going through the process. and seeing how it can not only help the builders, but also the consumer.
That's the takeaway from this, that those that are viewing this and those that are just listening, you're seeing, anywhere from 3 to almost 9% increase per home on current construction practices. Nothing was changed. None of these builders needed to change the way that they didn't need to change their business model. They didn't need to change their construction practices. They didn't need to include any other measures in order to access this value. This is as they were currently doing business. And so that's the one thing that we want to be able to express is a lot of you home builders, you are already building to this level. All you have to do is have somebody, let a team like ours come in and advocate for you.
And then I have to give a plug. These are without the cheat code. Like you add solar to that and you can see, you actually can quantify. It's not the PPV calculations. Like it's off the HERS score, which is phenomenal because it actually, there it is. Boom. There's the numbers for you to make it make sense.
Yeah, if you look at it, generally speaking, lower HERS score equals higher appraisal. That's the simple math here. There's a lot more that goes into that and the science behind it, but that's the easy way to explain it to a client. One of the ways to decrease that HERS score, and one of the most non-invasive ways in changing building practices, is adding solar, and especially doing it after the close of the home, where you get to take credit as the builder. It's built into the mortgage. It's loan products allow you to go above the qualified amount up to 15 to 20%, so you're not eating into that upgrade budget. And there's rebates available that you can use instead of a builder concession. So being able to reduce that HERS score even further, look how great this looks here for current building practices. Once your clients see like, oh, these are great scores, and how can we even build them stronger? There's lots of different options there. So yeah, HERS is really unlocking the perspective to be able to allow a client, a builder, a lender, a loan officer to communicate together of how to appreciate that value.
Great. Thank you all. I really appreciate each of you coming on, sharing your experience. This is obviously an important topic. This has been recorded, so we'll be able to share it out further. In addition, I think I can say you heard it here first that Steve's session for the ResNet conference, I believe, has been approved. It made the cut as one of our most popular based on votes from our network, which is good. And so you'll be seeing a session on this at the ResNet conference in January in Tempe, Arizona. For all of you in the north, please come to the warm weather in Arizona and enjoy the ResNet conference. It's always a good time. And with that, I'll say thank you. I look forward to continuing these discussions and helping to move the ResNet network forward to get higher appraised values for the builders that we all work with. Thank you, everyone.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks all.
Take care.
A million HERS rate.